but was there for me. And when my dad died, I prayed heavily to God and lent very heavily on my view of God.
Because your dad, in a way, had two deaths, didn't he? Because he was very ill and he had the heart attack, and then he was resuscitated, and he came back a completely different man. I think you described him like a 5-year-old when he came back.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. That was the first really giant heartache I've ever. We were also, in a house in Parkdale. I was, I guess, 20. And we got a call in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning. He'd gone in because he'd passed out. I was with him, actually, the day he passed out. He had a lot of stomach issues, and he passed out. And they put him in the hospital to see what was going on. Found that he had a hernia on his artery in his stomach, the major artery in his stomach. And at the middle of the night, it burst, and he lost all his blood and died. And so we got the call. And basically he was dead for like 15 minutes. And they brought him back, and we got to the hospital, and they said there's significant brain damage. We don't know how much till he comes around.
It's very hard for you to talk about this. Shall we move on?
No, it's okay. My way of honoring my dad. So, and basically he came back, and we had to teach him who his friends were again. And I have a piece of paper that I wrote "Speak to the Sky" on, and on the flip side is my dad learning to write again. It's a pretty precious piece of paper.
That was an incredible thing that all of your family did to get your dad back on track, even though he wasn't the same man that he used to be.
We sat with him, and it was stressful at times, because he'd been this in charge, loving guy, and he was still very loving, but he knew something had happened, and he didn't quite know what it was, but he knew something had happened to him, and I felt pain for him.
Do you get reminded of him, especially when you come back to Australia and you see your mum? And
yeah.
Let's move on to
happier things.
Happier things.
No, I love my dad. It was, yeah, it's been fun.
You hit the big time